Hi, I'm Thel Roundtree and welcome to the HowAudio.com podcast. Thanks for joining us today. In this podcast, we'll be checking in with Joe Randine, multiple Platinum Award-winning producer and session drummer with some tips on drum tuning. And a little bit later on, I'll be checking in with a segment from our SoundForge 8 title. But first up is Joe with some tips for all you drummers.
Okay, before we change the heads on the drums, we need to decide what sort of heads we want. Now, this depends on a lot of factors. One is your playing style. Do you play hard? Do you play soft? Another is the type of music do you play? Do you play jazz? Do you play rock? Do you play pop? And another factor is what sort of sound you want out of them. Now, I have 4 examples here, but like I said, there's multitudes of examples. This is just an extra batter clear head. It is a single ply head, meaning that it has one sheet of plastic basically on it. These are really good. I don't prefer these personally because they don't have as much texture and tone to them as a coated head. Now this is a coated head, except it has one addition to it, and as you can see, it has a little dot laminated to this. Drummers used to use these a lot in the past. I find them kind of nice on snares in rock applications because they give me a little bit more attack, a little bit more definition to the hit because of that dot. Probably the most used head out there is the Remo Ambassador coated head, which is just a very even, clean head. It serves a lot of applications. This is a double thin head, which means that it's really thin. It won't take a lot of abuse. If you're a hard hitter, this will be dented and ruined in no time at all. Also, going back to the clear heads, which this is a clear head, but this is a bass drum head. This bass drum head actually has a muffling system, a muffling ring built right into it. Yes and no. The no is that it doesn't give you a lot of control. What you have muffled is what you have muffled. You can only add more. You can't take away if you need it to be a little brighter. But for an all-around application, it's a good head. Another head that a lot of people use is called a pinstripe head, where there's actually, you can see it, it looks like a pinstripe around the circumference of the head, where it's single ply on the outside and double ply on the inside. It gives a really cool, unique sound. It gives a little bit of natural dampening to it. Finally, there's like ebony and or hydraulic heads, which actually the hydraulic heads have an oily film between the 2 plies. Don't recommend these a lot. I've used them both on bottom and top heads. It really deadens the sound. So if you were to use them, I would recommend them for a bottom head, but not a top head. Although there's probably a lot of drummers out there who say that, that I'm full of it. But again, selection of drum heads, it's a personal selection. It's the style that you play and how hard or how soft you play. So, you know, ask your local drum professional in your store, or visit one of the manufacturer's websites, and they have great selection tools there to help you find the right head for your application.
Thanks, Joe. Now here's a segment on extracting audio from CDs from our Sony SoundForge 8 title, with yours truly.
Okay, next, going down the file menu, we're going to take a look at extract audio from CD. This is a really cool feature within SoundForge, and it allows you to basically rip audio off of any Redbook audio CD and then get it inside SoundForge and do with it what you will. So just be careful with the copyright stuff, boys and girls. Let's take a look. Okay, here we are within SoundForge, just an empty workspace. We'll go up to the file menu and scroll down to extract audio from CD. Now what's going to happen here when we launch this is it's going to give us this dialog box here. And what it's doing is I've got a Redbook audio CD that I burned with 3 tracks on it in the CD player of the PC. Now I've got some options here in terms of the actions. I can read by track, I can read the entire disc, or I can read by range. And most 99.9% of the time you're going to be reading by track. So you've got the tracks indicating what type it is, gives it its start time, end time, how long the track is, and all that kind of good stuff. You can create regions for each track, and this is going to be selected if you're going to go ahead and read the entire disc. That makes it a lot easier to then see what you've got going on afterwards. You can also create markers for each index change. Again, if you have a whole bunch of tiny little clips, let's say you're bringing a bunch of sound effects off of a CD or something like that, those would be more helpful types of things to do in those situations. Down below here, you've got the choice of drive. I've only got one drive in my machine, so that's all that shows up. But if you have more than one, you can choose which one you want. Also, it gives you a choice of speed at which it will take the audio off the CD. I've never ever changed it from max. Usually I just let it go to whatever the hardware will allow. Under the configure menu, this is useful if there's problems with the disk. You can use this slider, and most of the time I've rarely ever used this. I've only had to use this maybe once or twice when I've had a CD that was very damaged or old and the drive was having a hard time reading the file off of it. You can make adjustments on this, and it's just a trial and error kind of thing to get it to kind of slow down the process and read the data more carefully. And then obviously just ejecting the disk. Now when I go up here and I can select the individual tracks that are on the disk, I can take a look at it, and then I can also play and sample it. So I'm going to click on this first track and hit play. There we go. So I can sample that, or I can sample the other track. I can sample each one to, obviously find out which is the correct track that I want to digitize from and capture. Once I've determined which track it is that I want to capture, I'm going to say it's going to be this one here. Just hit the OK button, and there it is, extracting from CD, track number 3. It gives me a status window down here, and voila, there it is. I can put my playback head here, hit play, and away you go. There is. It brought it in. As a default, it brings it in, and if I were to just go up and do save as right now, it would be in whatever format I'd had saved last. So I can save it as whatever. It can be saved as an MP3, it can be saved as a WAV, it can be saved in any format that SoundForge supports. But the cool thing is that it easily allows you a way of taking tracks off of CDs and getting them into SoundForge so that you can then edit them together, make changes to them, adjust levels, do restoration, whatever it is you need to do.
Well, that wraps up this edition of the HowAudio.com podcast. Be sure to visit us on the web for all your audio and music software training needs. Thanks for tuning in, and may none of your files ever clip.